Hey guys, Jay here. Welcome to the audio section of the course. So this course has two main sections for audio. The first one is environmental audio. The second one is dynamic audio. Environmental audio is basically static sounds that are placed in certain areas that basically propagate throughout the game world or in certain areas only. Like for example, a forest ambience is available everywhere, right? You just hear that ambience effect anywhere. You hear that sound effect anywhere. And then there are certain areas where there are fountains or lakes and things like that, where there's fixed audio in that area, and you can sort of hear a 3D audio effect whenever you get close to that area. And then there's also dynamic audio, where you basically use a script to trigger a sound effect. For example, a gunshot is something that only happens when you trigger, right? Or a death sound effect is something that only happens when a death happens, right? An enemy dies. So they kind of grunt out some sort of audio effect. So this is what we're going to cover in these two chapters. And then moving forward, there will be some more audio related content in the bonus chapter, a bonus section of this course. All right, let's get started with the environment audio first. So that's what this video is about. As you can see, I've got the game already here. What we're going to do is first, we're going to get a nice sound effect in. So I've got a couple that are selected in here. I'm going to start with the environment audio. Guys, if you go over to freesound.org, you can definitely find a lot of sound effects that you can use, sound effects that you can use in your game. And then some of them are available for commercials, some of them are not available, so make sure you check them. But there's also a lot of audio effects in the asset store, Unity asset store as well. But I'm going to go to free sound for this one, and then I'm going to link these down below as well if you guys want to do the same thing. So this is a really good sound effect for the environment, so I'm going to go ahead and download this one, and then yeah, feel free to follow along, guys. So for this one, it requires you to have a account. So I've created one already, so I'm going to use my account to download the sound effect. So feel free to do the same thing. Once downloaded, guys, that's all done. I'm going to bring it to my scene. So as always, we try to organize as much as we can, and there are a couple of folders that I should have organized already, but please do so in your project. So go to the sounds folder if you have one already. If not, just feel free to create one. Sounds folder, guys, just simply drag and drop this sound effect that we just downloaded. And it's always important to also rename your sound effect. So I'm going to call this forest. Right. So there we go. And you can import MP3 .wav files, and I believe there are some couple other sound effects that are sound formats that are supported by Unity. I most of the time go with .wav files or .mp3. That being said, this is all done now. It's imported. Environment sound effects are quite straightforward, guys. It doesn't require any sort of coding. You simply have to right-click your hierarchy, go to audio, click on audio source. So think of audio source as sort of a speaker in real world. So pretty much wherever you place it, it's basically going to emit sound out of it. Now, keep in mind that there is 3D audio and basically 2D audio. So 2D audio is basically sounds that you hear anywhere. That's not specific to one location. But 3D audio are things that are placed in the spatial space, basically the spatial world that we live in right now in this game, right? Basically things like lakes or cars with engine sounds coming out of them. You kind of sort of like move, when you move away from them, the sound dies off. So that's 3D audio. We're going to first set up some 2D audio, and I'm going to show you how to do the 3D audio effect as well. So the first thing is I've got an audio source here. I'm going to call that forest, all right, just to make things clear. So since we're doing 2D audio for the forest so that you hear the forest sound effects wherever you go, it doesn't matter where you place this. It doesn't matter at all. So you can even place this over here. You're still going to hear it. So when you have the audio source selected, guys, on the right-hand side, the audio source section, the component inspector, there's a slot for you to drag in your audio source or audio clip, or click on this little dot here and then select your forest ambience. All right. Play on awake. If you check that on, it's going to immediately start playing as soon as the game starts. Loop is important as well, because that means that the audio effect will keep looping at the end of the audio effect. So other than that, we also can adjust the volume a little bit. So I'm going to bring it down to around 0.68 kind of thing. We can always play this and see. But when you run this, forest sound effects have kickstarted. Looks great. Sounds great. Awesome. So the next thing is, guys, if you want sort of like spatial audio, 3D audio, we can definitely do that as well. So I'm going to do a little experiment here. So I'm going to bring in a 3D object, a cube, right? Now let's imagine, guys, this is a block out level, right? So we got to just imagine here. But in the actual game, when we start designing the 3D world in the next chapter, we're going to obviously replace this with good looking models. So right now, let's imagine this is a fountain. Okay, let's imagine there's a fountain here. And this is like a water body or something like that. Right now, you want to have some sort of like 3D audio to this. What we're going to do is we're going to right click, go to audio source. Same thing that we did earlier. I'm going to call this little fountain or something, right? So I'm going to place this over here exactly where the fountain is going to be. This is important because you kind of want that to be in the actual location that it's going to be in, right? The next thing is, guys, we got to bring in some audio to this as well. So I'm going to go ahead and find a fountain sound effect. So I'm going to go to free sound here. I'm going to look for some fountain audio effect. That sounds good. What about this one? That's a little too much. It's very harsh. That's all right as well. It's yeah, this sounds pretty good. It's a kind of fountain in the pond kind of thing. So I really like it. I'm gonna bring it in. All right, so download this audio here, and I'm gonna pretty much do the same thing. I'm gonna download it to the project as well. Just drag and drop it. All right, I like it. Now, what we're gonna do now is we're simply gonna call this fountain. Perfect. Now we're gonna go back to our audio source after it's renamed, and simply, like I mentioned, you can even do this, or you can drag and drop as well to the audio clip. The difference is we're also gonna loop it. The difference is in here, guys, there's a section called spatial blend. We're gonna move this over to 3D, right? Now, what this means is that now the sound effect is now 2D, not 2D, it's 3D, meaning it'll only be heard in certain locations, especially this location over here, which is exactly where it's set up. Now, there's also a spread level to this, meaning how far into the distance that this sort of dies away, the sound effect dies away, so that it sort of gives the impression that the fountain is kind of over there and not here. You know what I mean, right? So the way to do this would be to, guys, change this to around 10. Basically, this is how far ahead the sound is going to be. If you zoom out, you'll see a little gizmo covering this area. And the min distance should be the distance that the sound effect will be heard. So better description is over here. Within the min distance, the volume will stay at the loudest possible. This is the most you'll hear the sound effect, right? That's the loudest you'll hear it. And then the max distance is basically is the distance the sound stops basically spreading, right? So we're gonna test this out. I don't know if you hear the difference. As soon as I go near it, it kind of increases in the volume. So when I go near, it's very loud. But when I walk away to the distance, it kind of dies away, see? There we go. That's the effect that we were looking for. That's it, guys. That is the environment audio system. So you can place as many as you'd like as we're building this world. But that's simply it. It's very straightforward, but the dynamic one needs a little bit more work. So feel free to look into that lesson next. See you guys in that one.